check this out. Let's go! Hey everyone, today in this video, we're going to be checking out the Coolermaster Masterbox NR200p. I did receive this case to review, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product, you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. You can see the retail box and packaging right here, walking you through a lot of the key tech specs right on the side of the packaging, and you can learn more about the product on the back side. I really like that it says big features, small size. You may notice on the front too, the color that we're going to be showcasing today is black. This is available in multiple color options. I've had the privilege of building in the orange, which is beautiful. The Coolermaster purple and the Caribbean blue was our most recent build. So I'm excited to see how this black looks in person, but I highly recommend that you check out all the colors because they look amazing in person. Now let's go ahead, let's open this up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, you can see we have our user guide and manual walking us through everything we need to know about our new Masterbox case. You can see all the included contents as well as different installation suggestions and options depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Even have some wiring for you. Same can be said on the back side. They walk you through different AIO options for cooling, cable management options, and warranty information, all in a really helpful guide. Next, you can see we have two included fans. They're identical to each other, and they're the Sickle Flow 120s. We have our hardware kit right here with our zip ties, all of our screw standoffs, everything that we need. We have our riser cable right here if we want to mount our GPU vertically in this case, which you can do. They give you the riser right here. Next, since we have the tempered glass version, we have our glass panel. You can see we have the black border for ours. And last but not least, we have the case. Let's go ahead, let's look at that in more detail. Here's a look at the case up close. You can see it from the top right here. Pay attention to the design. So you can see we kind of got what I'm calling a racing stripe down this side right here. And you can see all of our ventilation for our exhaust and fans. We have our power button, a reset switch, two USB ports, and we have our headphone jack. The top is removable, so you can go and you can gently pry it off from the back. Here's a look at everything removed from the top, so you can see what that's gonna look like, and you get that nice bird's eye view inside of the case. And you can also see the top panel right here on the inside and how everything looks and where your fans can be positioned. Next, you can see the front of the case right here. So check it out, just a solid metal panel with the Coolermaster logo. This is also removable. There's a cutout at the bottom for your hand to go, so you can gently pry it off. Now you can see what it looks like with the front panel removed, so check it out. We have a pump indicator right here if you want to mount a pump. SSD indicators as well if you want to mount some solid state drives. You can see the access points that we have here for cable management or cooling. And you may notice, here's what the inside of the panel looks like, and there is a gap and a space that you have to work with here, which makes sense because of all of our I/O connections up at the top. Here's a look at the back side of the case. You can see we have our horizontal and vertical GPU mounting options right here. We also have where the motherboard's going to go and our power supply cable. Here's a look at the bottom of the case. You can see the 4 feet that we have in the grip, as well as a removable magnetic mesh cover. So you can see that right here, it just snaps back on in place. Now we're looking at the back panel right here. This is removable. You can see what it looks like when it's on. We do have ventilation all around the back side. This is not a solid piece of metal, which is great. So there's a lot of breathability and room for air. Now we have that back panel removed and you can see how everything looks here. Our power supply, our motherboard, a little bit of room down here for some cables or some cooling. Same with up at the top. You have a little bit of space to work with for your build. Now you can see our main side panel right here looks identical to the back side. Same thing, we have ventilation and room on the front. Don't forget, we do have the version that also comes with the tempered glass panel that we can use. This is removable. You can swap them out, mix and match however you see fit. Now you can see the inside of our main panel right here with it removed. It reveals our hard drive bracket. You could also use this if you want to mount an AIO radiator and cooler to it, you can. This is removable just with 2 screws there. And then you can see on the inside, we have where our power supply is going to go. You can get a feel for the space inside this case for your build. Now, just for fun, I thought I'd go ahead and show you the purple and the Caribbean blue options as well, so you could see those side by side, get a feel for the colors on these cases. They all look amazing. Now it's time to get our PC built in this case. The PC's built, check it out. Very small, compact, black, everything with our RGB accents for our Corsair RAM. Now let's look at it up close. So inside the build, you may notice to the right, we have our power supply installed with some cable management tucked in along the side and the bottom right here. We left some extra PCIe cables if we ever wanted to install a GPU. We have those readily available. Then you may notice our super bright, it is so bright, our Corsair DDR4, 2 sticks, 32 gigs total. Then we have our AMD 5600G, and we're using the stock cooler for that. And then our beautiful Gigabyte motherboard. So very spacious without the GPU and using the integrated graphics. We actually have a lot of room down here. We could add some additional fans or obviously an accessory or a GPU right there. And then up at the top, you may notice we are using the 2 included case fans. All of them are spinning right now, as you'd expect, because the unit is powered on. Now let's go ahead, let's go over some of the temperatures and performance of this case. First up, we're looking at our idle temps with the panels on for this case. On the screen, you're looking at the motherboard temperature. So our Gigabyte motherboard, all the different temperature values showing you currently what temperatures we're getting, as well as the minimum and maximum values for our motherboard. Same can be said for our CPU, the Ryzen 5 5600G, showing a current temp of 32 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 31.1 and a maximum of 58.9. Then we have our Corsair RAM temps. I thought this was really cool. So currently 32 or 33 degrees Celsius, depending on the stick, with a minimum around 31 or 32 and a maximum at 33 or 34, depending on the stick. For our M.2 drive, currently we're showing 44 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 42 and a maximum of 48. And then we can see our integrated graphics with AMD with our CPU currently at 31 with a minimum of 29 and a maximum of 42 degrees Celsius. Now let's go ahead, let's put this under full load and see the results. Now we're maxing out the computer using Cinebench R23. Temps look great, except we're seeing higher values than I would want for our CPU. I'm going to default a lot of that blame to the stock cooler, but I'm also going to give a good amount of blame to the case itself. This is not the best airflow case. We have nothing on the front panel we can use. Obviously, we're using the tempered glass panel right here. And on the back, we do have that mesh, which is nice, but our 2 fans are installed at the top, exhausting out. We don't have anything actively rushing and pulling a bunch of air in besides these 2 exhaust fans. So we definitely should add some additional cooling at the bottom here to try to pull some of that room temperature air in to increase the airflow to try to drop those temps. And obviously, we can swap out the cooler, pick a different cooler, an AIO, anything besides the stock one should hopefully give us some better results as well. And then lastly, we could take the tempered glass panel off, put that included hard drive bracket up. We could mount an AIO system there with a radiator or some additional fans to try to bring some more cool air into the build. And ironically, as I feel the top here, the air that's blowing out doesn't feel much different from room temperature. So again, I will actually give the case some grace there and really put the blame on the stock cooler. I've also built in this case multiple times with AIO and things like this, and this is the highest I've ever seen the temps at 95.4 degrees Celsius. So again, I can't fault the case completely. Most of that burden and blame falls on the CPU cooler of choice. RAM's looking good and just fine. Same even with the integrated graphics. We're showing 72 degrees Celsius right now with a max of 73. Now we're going to take our smoke machine. We're going to shoot it into the PC so we can see the airflow here. This is always really fun. So since we don't have any air intake fans, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to put it in the back right here, and you'll be able to watch it move around and come out. So look at that right there. Most of it's getting intercepted by that first fan and shooting right out the top. Let's have some fun. Let's see if we can maybe put some in the back right here and watch if it comes out the top again, which fans. All right, so look at that. Same thing, getting nice and smoky in here, but you can get a feel for the airflow and how it's gonna go in, and then the fans are gonna exhaust it right out of the top. Obviously we have our CPU fan there, but that's just gonna be taking the warm air off of the CPU, exhausting it into the case. And same thing, hot air rises, so you get the idea. That will also be coming out of the top of this case. We don't have any fans at the bottom, so nothing's exhausting out the bottom. It's all rising up and out through the top. Now it's time to share my final thoughts in regards to the coolermaster NR200p in black. This is the 4th PC I've built in this case. I've seen 4 different colors. This is my least favorite color because all of their other ones, the purple, the orange, and the Caribbean blue, just look so good in person, and they're so unique. You can buy just about any PC case in black, but when's the last time you got a really cool looking orange PC case? So my first word of advice is go ahead, get a fun, creative, and cool color. They have a lot to choose from, and they look amazing in person. Second thing is make sure you have some good cooling. Invest in either a nice small form factor air cooler or an AIO, but keep in mind with the AIO, there's just not a lot of room to work with in this case. So you're limited to just basically mounting it at the bottom or using the hard drive bracket. Also, I want to point out, if you mount your GPU vertically, they do give you the riser needed, but it's PCIe 3.0. So unless they've updated it, you'll need to most likely get a PCIe 4.0 riser to take advantage of that if you're using like an RTX 3000 series GPU. So it's a great small form factor case. I'm always pleased with the quality of it. It's tight when you're building in there, especially if you want some fans up at the top. I wish they had basically a mesh front panel so we could add some fans that way to give us a little bit better cooling, but you can do an AIO at the bottom or with the hard drive bracket. You can get creative with GPU mounting if that's something you prefer. For me, I think the best thing to do is to get an air cooler and then just keep your GPU connected directly to your motherboard horizontally. That's just my preference for this build, but you can do just about whatever you want and make something work even in this small and compact size.